Well, I'm going to talk about reduce, reuse, and recycle. And I can see your mind, your little brain's turning. Oh no, she's going to talk about mortgage rates, interest rates, making my own bread, thrift stores, chasing all over town. Doesn't this woman understand I'm a busy person? I got no time for this. Yes, I understand you're a busy person and that you don't have time for all of it. No one has time for all. I don't know, us retirees get come out to seminars and preaching to people that still having a bunch of time clock. Some of us don't have time to make sure we have time for it. And I am going to touch on those subjects, but I'm going to start in a way that might confuse you. If you look at page 1 on your handout, I'm going to talk about the 2 tools that will do the most to help you reduce, reuse, recycle, and maintain your standard of living without and cutting your cost. The first tool is your brain. Think. When you go to spend your money, think, is this what I want to do with this amount of money? Because once you spend it, you can't spend it on anything else. Am I going to get what I want with this amount of money? Notice everything about it. Think about it. And look at what you're actually getting. Many times we grab something, and I'm a guilty party. And when I get home, I found out, oh no, this isn't what I wanted because I didn't look closely enough what I was purchasing or the decision that I was making. It's worse if you might sign a contract that's good for 5 years and you didn't really make sure that it was the contract that you wanted. As soon as you implement the use of these 2 tools, your brain and your eye, you're going to reduce your cost of living and most likely improve your standard of living. I want you to think about mindsets next. The mindset of it's only. Oh boy. The it's only mindset can be the most expensive thing there is. And right with it is, that's not bad. My son was looking for housing cost, and he had an RV. He says, and found out what the RV cost for overnight cost for at Cal Expo was. He says, that's not bad. I said, son, multiply that by 30 days. He says, oh my God, Mama, because it was pretty close to $1,000. It's only, and it's not bad. Always make sure that you know what you're talking about. Another mindset, but I've always done it that way. Well, a lot of things that my mother did, I started doing them when I started running my own household. And until I changed that mindset, I found out I was spending far too much money. It worked for Mama. Mama was born in 1897. There is a little bit of difference in what worked for Mama when she started keeping house. Her concern was how much kerosene did she need for this week's oil lamps. My concern is what's my power bill going to be. So watch your mindset, especially the I've always done. And if you have always done it that way, this is back to the think. Think about every financial decision that you're making without thinking because you've always done it that way. You're likely to find you're spending 2 and 3 times what you need to. The other one is the all or nothing. You'll come across an article on reducing your cost, and you get to one of them and you say, that's not going to work for me, so you disregard the whole article. That's not true. You ain't thought very much, have you? Get rid of the all or nothing. When you run into ideas, pick what will work for you. And disregard that which will not. Now, my love for thrift stores is as much for the entertainment value as there is for anything else. Other people in here, I am never going to get them to set foot in a thrift store. But if I can get them to think about what they're doing, if I can get them to look at the selection in Walmart instead of directly going to Godchop's is gone. What's the other? The real Northam? Nordstrom's. You know, don't go to Nordstrom's if what's available at Walmart will work. So you don't have to take the whole thing. And I'm going to say things that some of you are just not going to do that. It's not going to work. Now, you've all heard the traditional, think how much you spend on that cup of coffee at Starbucks. Well, think about it. You're going to quit doing it. She is not going to quit. But being Susan, she has thought about this. Her morning Starbucks to her is worth the cost. It wouldn't be to me. I can make as good a cup of coffee. Give me my cup of powder, shove that one, the 1 cup coffee maker under that, hit the button. She's going to Starbucks. This goes back to think. She gets her value out of her cup of Starbucks coffee. So more power to her, but she's thought about it. She knows how much money she can save. It's just that's really one of her life's little luxuries. We all have our little luxuries, and I'm not asking anybody to give up their little luxuries. But I want to go on back to that laundry list. Now, nearly every personal finance seminar you've ever been to has started with your mortgage rate. Okay? How many times have you bought a house? I probably have, you 3, 2. I have bought 4. Probably more than anybody else. Anybody in the house, in the room, bought more than 4. They dealt with a mortgage company more than 4 times. But I want to tell you my experience with my first mortgage. This was the early 70s. I got noticed to buy the house or vacate, and I didn't want to buy that house. So I got busy, and I found one that I wanted to buy. And I worked for the State Department of Finance. Every professional in there, if you wanted a professional job at finance, you had a master's in business related, an MBA, public administration, master's in accounting. You had to be a numbers person, or you didn't get a professional job in finance. Oh no, don't you dare buy now. The interest rate is up to 7.5%. That's too high. It can't stay there. It's got to come down. I didn't have any options. And I did the math and I did the numbers. It was cheaper to buy this house than to pay the cost of renting another rental. So I, fortunately, ignored my well-meaning friends at the Department of Finance who just knew I was making the world's biggest mistake. Folks, do you remember the interest in the Gerard in the 70s? That 7.5% looked like one hell of a bargain to 3 and 4 years later when they were having to pay 10, 12, and 14% to buy a home. I had a home for my 3 sons. And when you have 3 children that you're raising by yourself, shelter is a very important thing. Okay, those of us who had to be single parents know it, and those of you who were, always dual parents, remember that was always an important consideration, shelter for the children. And I owned the home the typical 7 years and received 2.5 times what I paid for it. I cleared $30,000 for a house in the late 70s, for a house that I was told not to buy because the interest rates were too high. So, interest rates count, but they're not the controlling factor. But most of you are already homeowners. Do you know what the interest rate on your mortgage is? If you don't, you should be aware. Do you know what the current most desirable interest rate is? If your credit rating is going to get you the most desirable interest rate, have you done the math to see if you should refinance? Tell you another little personal story on a Toastmaster friend of mine whose degree is in accounting. I met her. She was a tax auditor. Used to before Toastmasters. I wondered how she ever managed to be. She was too introverted. Boy, at the Toastmasters, they didn't know, but none of those employers slowed her down. And I asked Carlene what her mortgage rate was, and she told me, and I says, it's down to 5. Carlene, you need to refinance. I don't have the money. Well, you can refinance that. She says, but I don't want to increase mine. I says, Carlene, your interest rate is 7.5, and the new one is 5.5. You do the math. She says, oh. And promptly refinanced. Got 5.3. So you have to do all the math. She was only, and look at everything, back to looking at everything, Carlene was only seeing the cost of refinancing. She didn't realize that when she did the math, and found out the difference in a 7.5 and a 5.3. It didn't take her no time to figure it out. So if you're already current homeowners, one of the current things that you should always be aware of is what is your current rate and what is the most desirable rate. And is your credit rating going to get you the most desirable rate? And this physician has to go tend to her own health because that's what I got to do next week, is start the process to drop my interest rate. I think it's about 1 7/8%. So it's on my to-do list already. I'm not talking about things I don't do myself, but I'm bringing them to your attention, so if it'll help you, it will. Oh, yes. The other thing on interest rates, and I'm going to move into a tricky area, traditional wisdom: avoid credit card indebtment at all costs. Okay. Now, if by credit card indebtment, you are talking about using your charge card for going to a restaurant and going to Disneyland, things that you just enjoy, fleeting things that, okay, I hope that you can arrange your financial life so those are paid off at the end of the month. But when I got ready to buy my new Scion, and I'm thinking about how am I going to pay for this? Am I going to pull the money out, which will have cost attached to it? Am I going to get an auto loan at the Golden One? And I'm considering all these factors. And in the mail, one of my credit card companies. Now, if I'd gone for that interest rate at the Golden One, it would have been 5.5%. The Golden One would have been the illegal owner. The Golden One would have really had control of my vehicle. So, but at this time, that's 5.9 is not bad. My credit card company sends me a check, 3.9 to a paid in full and no transfer rate. Now, folks, I bought a car with a credit card check.
Yeah.
And it cut my interest rate 10%. We're back to look and think and do the math. The traditional wisdom is that I should not have any credit card indebtedness. Other than my mortgage, everything else is financed by the lowest rate credit card check that came across my nose at the time I needed to make an expended, a large enough purchase. Any of this credit card stuff, the dinners out, the trips, etc., that's paid off at the end of the month right off the bat. So think. When your credit card rate is better than what you can get at your credit union, and I ain't even talking about Bank of America, I don't support CEA, $1 million salaries. Think. The next thing I want to talk about is the best price. No store loyalty is involved. I don't care how great you think Macy's is. If the product is available at Walmart, that's where your loyalty should be to your own pocketbook. Your primary focus should always be get what I need and what I want at the best price. Now you have to take other things into consideration. How far do you have to travel? Okay? And how much does it cost you? I think one of the best illustrations there is when I need to gas up my vehicles and I'm doing my Scion, and I got to go to Costco anyhow, I'm going to get my gas at Costco. When I get ready to gas up that motorhome, it's 5 miles to Costco. The motorhome gets 12 to 14 miles to a gallon. If I take the motorhome to Costco, I've lost nearly a gallon of gas. 1 mile away is USA, which is only normally 2 cents more than Costco. Alrighty, so I'm talking about less than $1 for, less than 50 cents to take the motorhome to USA as opposed to nearly a gallon of gas to take the motorhome to Costco. Not unless I'm going, leaving on the trip and have to go by Costco to get on where I'm going. Because let me tell you, when I start up to Reading next Monday, a week from Monday, or that week from Tuesday, I'm not going to Costco, I'm going that way, so I'll swing by USA. Always think about your cost of getting the best price. Now, I can talk about going to Walmart and Costco all I want to because Walmart is 3 miles this way and Costco is 4 miles that way. You have to think about these things when you're talking about where would you get the best price. I make a point of knowing those things that I buy repetitively. I know who has the best price. I know which items I'm going to buy at Costco. I repeatedly use all laundry detergent. I have to have the all free and clear. I know that I'm better off at Walmart because the big things at Costco aren't great. You know, they don't save me that much. And I've got a green flag, which means I got 5 minutes. So I'm going to move on a little bit. I'm going to touch briefly on the dollar store. You've heard the expression, you get what you pay for? Well, how many in here have had the delightful experience of paying a good price for something and realize it wasn't worth 1/10 of that?
Oh, yeah.
I think a better expression is you don't get anything you don't pay for, and the trick is to get what you do pay for. So when you go to the dollar store, remember, you're going to get something, you know, the quality is nowhere near Macy's. So if you need Macy's quality, don't even think about the dollar store. Also, it's $1. And if you go to Walmart, you're going to get the same thing for 67 cents. So the dollar store can be convenient. I always drop by the dollar store to get ammonia. I don't know why they get it for the same container I get ammonia at the dollar store. It costs more than that anywhere else. So that works for me. So know what you're doing when you set foot into something as discount as the dollar store. It's the same thing with Walmart. There's certain things, a branded item I will get at Walmart, a Walmart brand, I'd be very aware, is that going to serve my needs? So you're working on make sure that you're getting what you're paying for, and will that quality serve your need? Now, thrift stores, I touched on those briefly. If you enjoy the thrill of the hunt, you will enjoy the thrift stores. I had long wanted the sheets with the eyelet lace up there, and I wasn't studying paying the 60 or 70 bucks that Walmart wanted for them. Found them at a dollar store for $3.95. I mean, a thrift store for $3.95. Obviously, in perfect condition. So the thrift store can be your best friend, but you have to enjoy it. You have to appreciate the thrill of the hunt. And it's not a last minute. If you need it today, the odds, thrift store is probably not going to work for you. But, the things like that. I found the little, now that, I thought my household was down to one, but I've got a son that keeps coming back. Okay. You're one of those revolving sons. So I wanted this particular small Teflon, Circulon paint. Penny's had it for $24.95, $2.49 at the thrift store. So it's the thrill of the hunt. But if you can do that, great. Making your own bread, it ain't going to save you enough money to make it worthwhile. If you're doing that for economy, forget it. But if you enjoy one of the best tasting things on the face of this earth, which is fresh homemade bread, buy yourself bread. One of the easy ways is buy yourself a bread maker. Or if you're like me and you got one of those big KitchenAid mixers that will do the kneading for you, find some time. But don't put it among your cost-saving factors because it doesn't contribute that much to what. The next, to me, one of the most important factors in controlling your financial life is to keep a record of all your expenditures. And I do mean all. You will find out where you're spending money. You will die of shock when you found out how much money you actually spend at a restaurant. And then that computer you thought was costing you a fortune, you're going to say, is that all it really cost me? When I started keeping records of what, now I have mine on Excel. I can make Excel sing, dance, and tell fairy tales. And if you want an Excel spreadsheet on how to, keep up with it, let me know. I'll send you the shell. But whatever works for you for keeping up with it. Keeping up with where your money goes is going to give you control of where your money goes instead of it just sneaking away from you without you really. And you're going to get the surprises. I thought I was spending a lot of money on my computer. Oh no, it was the restaurants. I thought I had my clothing control, what I spent on my own clothes under control. Ooh, boy, did I ever get a surprise on that. I thought my pets were costing me a fortune. They're not. Except when I have a big vet bill, but that's different. That's just something you can go along with. So in closing, what I want to bring to your attention is not just one or two factors. It's keeping up with everything. It's making the decisions, making your choices of what's going to work. Don't get into the all or nothing mindset. Out of what I said, pick out what will work for you. She's not giving up Starbucks. She grin on her face. But I'll bet you there was 2 or 3 things that I said that she's thinking, let me think about that. It's the overall that's going to make the difference in your financial situation. And I've got one final tip before I return control to our Master of Ceremonies. Obey all the traffic laws. It only takes 1 speeding ticket to wipe out 6 months of savings. And if you think, and that's just the beginning, wait till you see what your insurance company is going to do to you for the next 3 years over every moving traffic violation